So this is kind of where you spend most of your time after you've processed data through. So here's our different assemblies. And what I can do is, like, for this one here, I can say, hey, we're going to build 15 of this assembly. This one we're going to build 10 of. And then this one we'll build 10 of as well.
Just put in 3. The rates are on there, but it's just like that split.
Okay.
So now it's, it knows the quantities of each of the components in those assemblies.
What it's necessary for sure, but
Sure. I'm guessing some of that big trough section might cause some issues with that, just because it's probably bigger than most sheets.
Yes, yeah, it does not nest properly, but I can get it on there for the demo purposes. So see here, it automatically has all the material associated with it. It knows the thickness of every part. It knows what cutting condition to use for each of the parts.
Mm-hmm.
And it knows how many of each part we need per assembly. So it knows this one's 16, and then over here it has the lot size. So it knows it's actually going to build 160 of these, but there's 16 in one kit, basically.
Nice.
Then we do go into our auto nesting. It's going to show us our material library. So we can choose what size sheets we want to allow it to nest on. And then go. Yes, I could have switched it to a 6225 machine and it would nest those parts automatically, but you'll see kind of what it does anyway here. And so, and with our software, as far as the nesting goes, it does a full 100% done program following all those different preferences.
Mm-hmm.
So it does our nesting, it'll do all the etching, it'll do all the remnant cutting, etching of remnants, slug destroy. It does the entire program, and then we make changes if we need to. So it takes a little bit more time up front just in this green bar moving processing, but keep in mind that it's just making programs for everything. It's building a full schedule to run that hopefully we don't have to do a whole lot of changes to, because we've set our preferences up well.
Right.
And then if you have a leftover remnant clothing, does it have a means of labeling that and storing that so we know this remnant exists and can be used in the future?
Yeah, so as we make remnants, it etches the remnants with that information, and then it throws the remnant back into our material library for future nesting. You can also have it save skeleton sheets. So this is a sheet that has parts cut out of it in blue, but the black is still usable. So now we can grab this skeleton again later, and it'll nest around the parts that were already cut.
Okay.
So it'll save those, in both ways if you want to allow it to. And it puts the quantity of that remnant that's available. So if you do use it again in the future, it'll automatically remove it from your library, so you can't use a unique remnant twice.
I'm guessing, again, parameters and whatnot, it can figure out, it knows how to program the laser so that it's balancing the heat load or the heat that's on the being output into the sheet, so you don't get warping or minimize the warping. Adds tabs so everything can be traveled in and out and whatnot pretty easily.
Yeah, but it has all the tabs, slug destroy, all that sort of stuff. As far as heat dissipation goes, that's something that you choose to enable or not. So it'll do skip cutting, so you can tell it, hey, I want every pierce to be 30 inches apart from each other.
Yeah.
Now, if you do that, obviously that might increase your runtime. So some people turn it on just when they need it, and then they leave it on standard. Otherwise they kind of get some awkward running sheets. But yes,
Yeah.
if heat dissipation is critical, that's something you can enable. Either for every sheet or just particular material thicknesses, or just on a case by case basis.
Right. Yeah. Sounds good.
So this is a pretty large group of parts being nested here. So we got several sheets. This table on the right is showing all the different sheets that we're running. This is telling me there is a part that's greater than what we can nest, which you probably expected. We'll look at that part in a moment. Here's this part. This was kind of a unique thickness, so we put it onto a smaller sheet and nested all the parts we needed. It tabbed those parts in, and then it etched the remnant with the material type and thickness, as well as the size of the remnant. That's kind of the first sheet that we're looking at. That was the 10 gauge, and now for our 1/4 inch sheets, see the red triangles, those are tabs. So the smaller parts, it did place tabs on it as needed, and the larger parts, it does not. This is, another, just kind of looking at how these nest layouts look. Go through these different. And I have it looking at several different sheet sizes to get the best utilization. So you see it's jumping around between 120 by 60, 48 by 48, 144 by 72. So it's not, it adds a little bit of nesting time, but it does, create better overall sheet utilization for the entirety of the nest.
And of course, we program in whatever sheet size we typically order and whatnot have on hand. So look at that.
Again, etching and remnant cuts being created. Now for our 3/8, this one, for some of these holes where it's not sitting on enough slats to be safe, but it's too big to drop through, it did automatically apply the slug destroy to that opening. It does do nesting of parts inside of parts, kind of infinitely there as able, as well as some slug destroy options. So this is kind of our couple of different nesting layouts that it did here. And again, it's got tabs on the smaller parts that need it. Like this one here, you can use, while you're facing auto, just kind of barely just stretches the parts out just a little bit further, give you a little bit more space if needed. But these parts laid out really nicely for the nesting parameters here.
It's pretty good sheet.
You might want to do some common line cutting. If you wanted to do that, you can do common cut and just grab those edges and create some common cut nests. And then here's the 1/2 inch parts that it laid out. Now, if we go up to the 3/8, we'll see, or is it 1/4 inch? Yeah. So see the parts in red, that's indicating that that they didn't get nested because they're too large. That's what. If it's black, that means we got the right number of quantity that we requested. If it's blue, then that means that we have too many parts or we have more than what we requested. And then if it's red, that means we have less than what we requested. So this is saying we planned for 10, but we got 0 because it's too large to fit on a sheet. But if we just go ahead and go up to our 1/4 inch here, and we'll add a sheet. And I'll make it a, exceptionally large sheet.
Doesn't fit
Larger. All right, so now I can grab our part here and drag it on. And we'll rotate it so it fits. Oh, it needs to be a little bit larger yet. Big part.
Yeah, this is one we cut that in 3 parts.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got it laid out on here, so it's at least cutting, in a theoretical world on a monster machine.
Yeah.
But,
just out of curiosity, real quick, are those dashed lines that I see on the left side? Is that where the slats are located? Is that what that's?
those are the slats. Yep, the yellow lines, those are slats. So I've got a sheet on here that's larger than the machine table, so that's why those slats stop at that point.